Our topic today is nonprofits and cyber risk, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my colleague, Stephanie Snyder-Frenier, who comes to Gallagher and our nonprofit team with 23 years of industry experience, has a role as a senior vice president in our cyber liability practice, and is a national subject matter expert for us in cyber and supporting nonprofits. So, Stephanie, can you talk a little bit about board composition?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me today, Peter. Board composition is actually more important than a lot of nonprofits would think. Oftentimes, we see for-profit organizations or publicly traded organizations be very focused on the composition of their board, and for good reason. In many cases, for publicly traded organizations, for instance, the SEC also thinks that it's important that they have expertise on the board from a cybersecurity and privacy standpoint. But I would say that nonprofit organizations really need to be considering this as well. And many nonprofits that I'm working with are taking this into account and ensuring that they are employing people on the board that do have cybersecurity and privacy expertise. The reason that it's important is because nonprofits are not insulated from cyber risk just because of their nonprofit status. So it is critical for nonprofits to be considering the risks that they have from a cybersecurity and privacy standpoint and ensuring that there is a top-down approach on how to appropriately address those risks.
That's outstanding. Now, taking it one step further, why is the employee training critical for nonprofits in today's cyber world?
Because again, those nonprofits really need to be thinking about their exposure. And oftentimes we see a lot of these breaches or social engineering attacks being directed at employees. Unfortunately, a lot of us are moving fast. We're fallible. We click on the wrong link without even meaning to. So that's really where employee training is so critical. Ensuring that employees know how to protect their organization against risk, whether it's from an email standpoint and understanding what a phishing email is or a smishing text is, but also ensuring that they don't fall for these things from a social engineering standpoint. We're seeing a lot of activity with business email compromise and social engineering where employees are duped to transfer funds to a threat actor. So knowing that these types of things can happen and being aware of how they can happen is absolutely critical.
Continuing our conversation about cyber and what nonprofits need to think about, what are some other risks that nonprofits should be aware of, and what can they, along with their broker, do to ensure that they're protected?
Well, I think it's really table stakes in this environment for nonprofits to do some type of security or privacy assessment. Really understand what risk they have that is unique to their organization, because every organization is a little bit different. What we see a lot of times is that nonprofits are using procurement of cyber insurance as a proxy for that security and privacy assessment as they're working through procuring that cyber insurance and really using their broker as a means to understand their own cybersecurity posture as they work through the application. And that broker helps them review the questions on their application so that they can understand kind of where they are on their cybersecurity journey. But I really think it goes a lot beyond that. A good cyber insurance broker is going to be educating that nonprofit about the risk environment overall. A lot of discussions that we're having with nonprofits are around how they may be considering to use AI, what type of web tracking technologies do they have on their website, and do they have the appropriate controls and disclosures to avoid potential litigation? Certainly, what type of data do they have from a donor standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from a personally identifiable information standpoint? But there's a lot of education that comes through the cyber insurance placement process, and a good broker is going to help educate the nonprofit around posture, around privacy regulations, around exposure, and then, really Also, what does a bad day look like for that nonprofit if there were to be a ransomware attack, if there were to be a breach? How much could it potentially cost the organization? And there's a lot of modeling tools that brokers can use to help educate on the total potential loss. And that's going to help that organization ensure that they're appropriately insuring against that loss and really build confidence. Lastly, I would say it's also just really important to plan ahead. Nonprofits need to be thinking about having an incident response plan, a business continuity plan, a disaster recovery plan. Being aware of the evolving regulatory environment as well is really critical. But cyber insurance is a great first step for a lot of those organizations that maybe aren't at the place of being able to do a security or privacy assessment on their own.
Outstanding insights, Stephanie. And I would like to also, number one, thank you for your thought leadership, but be on the lookout for an article out on our external website, ajg.com, that Stephanie's just produced called Website Tracking Litigation for Nonprofits. Thanks again, Stephanie.
Thank you.